Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast, episode 63 for October 1st, 2023.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely and prompt Oktoberfest, sober Oktoberfest ready Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I love it when you get into this, your brain is going so fast and you're trying to get all out, and it's just, and I'm watching your eyes and you're kind of going crazy.
I'm trying to keep up with the thoughts in my head. How are you? See,
I'm
sober
good.
October's already taken its toll, and it's only been a few hours.
A few hours.
No,
We're
the
in
toll.
it.
This is like my fourth sober October, so every Ober is a.
Is that so crazy? Yeah, this is my fifth.
I just passed, not that you kids care, but 1,000 days a few days back. I almost forgot myself. I put it on my calendar and still almost forgot.
Yay! Where's the sound effect?
Oh, it's in here somewhere.
Oh.
But my computer's set up weird because we have an interview coming up.
I know.
So, and we're actually in a weird twist. Not that you guys care, but we're actually doing the interview at the same exact time that we're doing the setup. So that really throws me off.
Yeah, it's
You,
exciting.
you move my cheese, Amy.
And I'm very excited for you.
For my
Yes,
for my 1,000 days.
Because
I even got another
like
trophy in my app. Very exciting.
You know what? The gamification.
It does. It does. Hey, you know what? It does. It helps.
does help.
It does help.
And we, again, we're not huge counters, but when you get to when you
like
when
1,
you
2, 3, okay.
you know that there's a big day coming, you start to kind of.
We're big about knowing that the day is coming. We tend to fall down on the actual day, even like anniversaries and stuff. Oh, hey, this is our anniversary.
Yeah, because you had completely forgotten about it, and
Yeah,
I was just like, the 28th.
Is this your 1,000th?
I think he said this was his 1,000th day,
Like multiple times, and still forgot. Yeah,
and then you were like, yeah, it is. So we
surprise to me.
took a little picture and posted it.
I didn't have.
You got
I didn't
some
have
social
1,000 day in
media.
your gold balloons.
I know
like
you did
had.
not get the gold balloons.
I know you got the super special one. I got the medium special one. You know, once you do 1,000 day once, another 1,000 days. You know what is it?
If you wanted me to go get you 1,000,
no, because they aren't really cheap. Those big balloons are
no,
not.
they're not cheap.
It's
They're
a bit
not
of an
cheap.
investment in balloons. It's so shocking.
And that was the thing. We probably should have just deflated them and then kept them so we could put them on a board or something for you. Here's the flat
here's
ones,
the
but they're
janky-
gold.
Here's a janky 1,000 days. Well, if you're into other janky things, kids, why don't you like, subscribe, share this podcast with your friends? It always helps us out. Help a friend.
Yes, help us out.
Our goal isn't to get a bajillion listeners. Our goal is to help one of you at a time. So if we help one of you, help a friend, help a friend.
Yes. I do want to.
And you're helping friends right now.
I am so excited today. It has just been a crazy week. It's the first week of my group. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask.
Don't multitask. Amy. You barely task, let alone multitask.
Well-
but no, your alcohol-free spirit program experiment started
Yes.
last week, right?
It did.
Your
It
pause
started.
week.
It's our pause week. So then we're getting started. But then yesterday, out of the blue, a gal reached out and said it wasn't too late to join. And I'm like, no, it's not too late. We'll get you in there. So she's joining us.
Eventually,
so,
it becomes too late. But
yeah.
she was
But before the start day
yeah.
where we do the actual content that's coming to you, and
which is Monday, October 2nd, right? Tomorrow.
No, we started today.
Oh,
They
you started-
they all
oh.
got emails. Here's the beauty. Also, all the emails and everything this time went smoothly. The
Yes.
process,
Technology.
the third time is the
Charm.
charm.
You finally have mastered the tech that makes it all work.
But I just want to tell everybody, if you are sober curious, a great resource for me was This Naked Mind, the book. Reading through that book was probably it was a game changer. It changed everything.
It did.
And so I would encourage you, if you're sober curious and you're just interested in finding and learning more, do that. Go pick up that book and enjoy.
Or one of the many other ones that we've talked about.
Oh my gosh,
you have
there's
quite the library.
So many.
We could do a book podcast episode just about all the books.
Good.
But we won't right now because we need to get to our interview with Jenn coming up. So let's do our drink of the week real quick, Amy. We're finishing off our Oktoberfest. We did a couple last time. We'll do a couple the latter two this time. You have?
I have the Untitled Art Oktoberfest, and we drank this the other night with our group. My group, we do a happier hour as well, and this was one of the 4.
Literally, you and I do it
You
together.
and I,
Yes.
we're doing that
Yes.
little together. This is one of my favorites. I want to say this year, there's 4 for one thing,
Yeah.
probably more, but this was so exciting
Yes.
that we have 4 choices. They're all good. And so,
Untitled Art is rarely
Untitled Art is
rarely misses if
yeah.
ever. So, and another one that rarely misses as ever is the Athletic Brewing, their Oktoberfest brew. Again, Athletic is always on point.
Yeah.
I had not that it's healthy necessarily, but I did have a macadamia. It's already in here. A macadamia nut Cliff Bar before. That paired with an Athletic Oktoberfest is
Pretty good.
a pretty tasty
Well,
combo.
and I'm going to say on mine, there's only 75 calories.
Mine's only 70.
So I mean, I think that's a treat.
Not the lowest cal of the NA beers, but I think it has something to do with the festiness of it, maybe. Maybe it has more sugar. I have no idea.
Probably.
I don't know.
I hope you will try these. These are all good.
Yes.
And then remember,
Sometimes some you have to order, some you can find in your local grocer.
And Go Brewing, again.
Always check out
Go Brewing. Matt's wearing his little cap there. And there is a $5 off discount coupon that we will put in the
always
show
in the
notes.
show notes,
And then
kids.
it's always, if you go to Joy on the Other Side, right? Joy on the Other Side.
Your website, jointhererside.com.
No, I'm thinking my Instagram. Joy on the Other Side of Alcohol. Sorry, people. You know what? There's so much joy. There's too much joy. So Joy on the Other Side of Alcohol is my Instagram handle. If you go there in my link tree, there is a link right there as well.
There you go. I think it's gonna be easier to just look down in the show notes and to follow Amy's directions to her random Instagram account that has a link somewhere. So if you want to take that route,
But if you
have
would
some
like
free
to
time.
go to my Instagram account and like me there,
you can do
I
that
need
too.
help. Let me make sure. I'm gonna
She
look.
wanted to get past 666
Yes.
as her follower count.
Let
so.
me look and see if it's still there today, because yes, it is. Please, someone go out and like me so that it will either be 667 or 66
Or
you know what?
unlike her.
Unlike me, so it's 665.
And then come back when it's 667 again. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways.
All right, Coach Amy. Well, tell us about Jenn and our interview here coming up.
Okay,
in a
well,
second.
we are going to be interviewing today Jenn Marsan, and Jenn is from Shelton, Connecticut, and she is a stay-at-home mom to a 5-year-old boy, and she has a 1.5-year-old daughter. She is married to a firefighter husband, and she is a health and wellness partner for BODi, which I believe is Beachbody. And will be starting working on her real estate license this winter. She is 2.5 years sober after suffering from a multitude of unhealthy habits and behaviors starting at a very young age. She is a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and she is here to tell her story to help motivate others. Well, we are here with Jenn, and Jenn, I'm so excited that you're here, and I would just like to jump in. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, and I know that you have 2 littles, so I know there's got to be a lot of fun with that. Just something that's fun, maybe something that's fun that's a non-mommy thing that you like to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be on this. I'm Jenn. I'm from Shelton, Connecticut. Born and raised in Connecticut. And I am a health and fitness coach. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. And I have 2 little kids. I have a boy and a girl. And a little fun fact is I was not always in health and fitness or health and wellness. I actually went to school for musical theater. So one of my biggest passions is actually singing and dancing. And I am actually trying out for America's Got Talent next month.
Wow.
So
So
there's a little fun fact, like
cool.
non-mommy Jen moment. So yeah,
Oh,
so
we can
that's
say when we knew her when.
Yes, before she was famous.
before the TV. So that's one of the things that yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Sharing
Yeah.
that with us too.
You're
And
welcome. You're
so
welcome.
there's a definite non-mommy thing,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like you're doing that for you. Well, the reason we wanted to have you on too is I follow you on Instagram and your Mama J Fitness, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes. And so you guys can go out there. And I started following you a couple of years ago. And kind of midway through this journey. And I'm like, wow, you are so motivating. I just would tune in like, okay, what's she doing now? She's doing all this stuff. So if you want to jump in and kind of tell us about your story
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
where you came, how this all started.
So I'll go kind of way back, kind of like
Okay.
way back in the day. I was born, my mom, I'm gonna start off with that. My mom had breast cancer, and I say had because she did pass when I was 15 years old. But she got diagnosed 2 years prior to me even being born. And the doctors had said to her, they're like, listen, you're never going to have this child. You have cancer. Like, you're not going to be able to have her. And my mom said, from hell or high water, I am going to have a child. And I came out 9.3, 9 pounds, 3 ounce baby. My mom had me, and I was perfectly healthy, despite what all the doctors said, despite whatever. But as I grew up, she got sicker and sicker. There were points in my life that I would ask her, Mom, are you going to go to heaven? Are you going to go to heaven? And because we lived in a Catholic household, so we always believed that, God will call you whenever you're supposed to. God will always lead you to wherever you need to go in life. And that was kind of my childhood, but I was always out of the house. So I was always busy. I was always doing stuff. And what I also realized was that I was just constantly busy enough to not really deal with the problem, to not really address like what's really happening in my life. Like, why is mom going through all this? What is happening? And at a young age, I was also told, you'll never be thin. I was always the bigger girl. So I grew up, my family's a big family. And I used food a lot as like my comfort. I used food as like that comfort, like, oh, I'm going to have an ice cream today. Like, Mom, can we get ice cream? Sure, it's okay. Like, I always used something to get me by, whether it was food, whether it was even practice and singing and being in shows. I was always busy. And when my mom passed away when I was 15 years old, my life kind of shifted. And that was the first shift of my life, where I was kind of on my own, even though I had my dad and I had my older brother, but my older brother was 11 years older than me. So he was kind of already 27 at the time. And I was kind of leaning on my friends. And at this point, they were doing stuff, and not drugs or alcohol or anything like that, but they were just, they wouldn't eat. So I got really, really thin in high school. And then when I went to college, I went away to Rhode Island College in Providence. And that's when there was no boundaries, there was no parents, there was no nothing. And I started drinking at the age of 19. And that really made me say, wow, I can forget about everything. I can just like drink whenever I want. I can eat whatever I want. And that was the second turn of events where I would be feeling a certain type of way in my 20s. And I'd be like, alcohol is going to solve it because I can't feel anything. Or I would have the liquid courage to go on those stages or to go and do karaoke. I would have so much liquor in me that I just did whatever. And at this point in my life, throughout like 17, like around 17 to about 30, I didn't really know who I was because I was drinking all the time. I was drinking so much that I just like, I could function during the day, but at night I was like, I didn't know what was going on. And it got really bad, up until the point where me and my husband, I've been with my husband for almost 20 years now. We are not high school sweethearts, but we did meet in high school. But him and I partied all the time. Him and I partied after we met, and we just kept going. And when we were trying for our first child, the doctor looked at me and said, "You can't have a baby. You're too big to have a baby." And that night, I went to the bottle. And it was just one of those things, because you get bad news and you just drink. And a month later, I found out that I was pregnant. So I'm like, I found out, I was like, well, here we go. But what I realized was that I stopped drinking throughout my pregnancy. But the minute that I could start drinking, I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't even the worst part of it. The worst part was probably when my son was about a year and a half. So right where my daughter is now, my son, he was about a year and a half, and the world shut down. COVID hit.
Yep.
So, of course, nothing's open. You're sitting outside, you're just drinking. Well, I drank so much that I was going through a handle of liquor every 2 days. And there was nothing that was kept open in my house. Like it would just, like, I couldn't even keep anything in the house because I would just drink it all. And it wasn't until 2021 where I decided that I'm going to do a fitness challenge. And you couldn't drink for 75 days. I did the 75 hard challenge. And I did that challenge. And after a month in, I kind of looked at myself and I said, holy crap, what have I done? Like, what have I done? Because the night before my last drink, I drank 4 bottles of wine, 4 whole bottles of wine. And I looked at myself the next day and I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just do that? Did I literally just do that? And then after a couple months down the road, I was like, wow, like things started to become clearer. I didn't have to fall asleep in order to just, remember things or to get through things. Like I was actually getting through things and remembering how to get through things. And throughout that first month of me being sober, I got pregnant again with my daughter. And the reason why I bring this up is because I felt as if every time in my life that God, like, that something bad had happened, God always made sure that he gave me a sign to say, hey, look, you're okay. Like, I got you. I got you. But I lost that throughout my 17 to 30 because I didn't really realize that. But there's like, now here I am 2.5 years sober, or 2.5 years sober. And there's such a difference in what my life was back when I was drinking versus what my life is now. So I hope that kind of like brings that.
Oh.
I know it's a long story and like there's even more pieces to it, but it's just like that's the kind of overview.
Yeah.
Now, was your husband drinking the same? Like you were drinking like a handle every 2 days. Was he keeping pace, or was he drinking a lot less? Was it okay?
No, he was drinking maybe his 1 glass of bourbon. Like his 1 little glass of bourbon. He's like the bourbon cigar guy. Like he loves to have both, but he can shut off. Like he can just shut off, where I couldn't. It was like I would have a drink and I needed to have one more. I just kept going and going and going. And there were points throughout that 17 through 30 where my husband would look at me and be like, Jenn, I think you have a problem. I really think you have a problem. Like, or hey, Jenn, do you mind if like you don't drink tonight? Like, so that way I can actually enjoy a night out with our friends, maybe. And I'd be like, yeah. That's totally fine. Totally fine. I won't drink. Who ended up getting drunk with me. And he'd be like, okay, I thought I thought I wasn't gonna drive tonight, but okay, I guess I'm driving now.
Yeah. And I want to say, like you touched on, like every time, like God gave you a little bit of hope,
Yeah.
like gave you that thing. And
Yeah.
so you go in, you
Yeah.
can't have any, you're not gonna be able to have it. Oh, well, guess what? You can. So you have this little miracle.
Yeah.
And then what prompted you to do that 75 hard?
So let me kind of go backwards. In 2018, when I had my son, I weighed 302 pounds and I was on high blood pressure medicine. Cholesterol was through the roof. The swelling of my legs was just like unbelievable. And I had an emergency C-section. And the doctors brought me in because I was high risk because of my weight and everything. And they brought me in. It was 4 weeks earlier than my due date. And the doctors brought me in and they're like, Jenn, we think you're preeclamptic. And I said, there's no way. Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm totally fine. And they ran tests and they said, okay, you're not, but the baby's not doing well. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, your blood pressure is rising minute by minute. And we need to have this baby now. When I had my son, my blood pressure was 190 over 100. And they were like, there's no way in hell that we can keep this baby in. So we need to take him out. And when he was born, he was rushed into the NICU because he had low sugar. His lungs he was having trouble breathing. And I don't remember a lot of that because obviously like it was so dramatic. But I remember waking up from getting stitched up and I immediately like sat up and they're like, whoa. Like you can't do that. And I said, where's my son? I like panicked. I literally panicked. And I said, where is my son? Where is he? And they were like, he's in the NICU. He's okay, but he needs to stay up there. I said, I want to go right now. They're like, you can't. Like, you literally just had surgery. And I said, I don't care. I need to go see my son. And when I went up there, the first thing that I saw was just him in like all of these wires, tubes in his nose, just everything. And I looked down at him and I said, God, if I am blessed with another kid, I will do things better. I will be different. I will be healthy. I will be a totally different person than I will ever be. And that moment was kind of like my pivotal point, but it took me a couple months to actually like get going on a health and fitness journey. And in January of 2019, I started working out from home, doing 30-minute workouts, changing my diet, and I was able to lose 135 pounds in like almost 2 years, like 2.5 years. And then 2021, I was like, I'm down. I'm just going to do this 75 hard challenge. I've never done this before. I'm going to be awesome. Like, I'm a fitness coach now, totally changed my life. And I'm just going to do this for me. I don't need to drink alcohol, because prior to this, that's when I was drinking hardcore. So I'm like, I could do this. And
so you're drinking that handle every 2 days and working out all that to lose all that weight. Wow.
So, and what I was saying, I'm a health and fitness coach.
and how hard on your body. So this makes so much sense now to have you then say, okay, then I did this 75 hard. So you truly like woke up You were like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
imagine you probably started to feel not only like, okay, Jen, what am I doing? But
Yeah.
oh, Jen, I'm feeling good. Like
Yeah.
I'm feeling really good because that is kind of that wake up too. It's like, what's going on? And I'm actually feeling,
Yeah.
I'm feeling. That's probably what
Well,
a lot of it too. I'm feeling.
and one of the things that I kind of almost felt like an imposter because I was living this healthy lifestyle and I was posting about it, but you wouldn't see me post like past 7 o'clock at night.
Mm,
And like you saw my stories and it was like day to day, like you would see me get up, you'd see me do all this stuff, and then 7 o'clock, hard hit. Like 7, 8 o'clock, hard hit. And I'm like, and I looked back and I just kept thinking, I'm like, that's when I would go outside with my husband and I would sit outside or sit in the couch and I'd start drinking. And I wouldn't post anything because I didn't want people to know. I didn't want people to know about like my other life as like, because I would say, oh, you can have alcohol while you're on a health and fitness journey. Just be really, really, really delicate and like, have red wine instead of white because it's less sugar, or have the vodka instead of like the brown stuff. Like I would say that, but then I would take it to the point of like coaching my team to only have like one or two, but I would have like three or four. And
hmm
I'm like, I'm fine. I'm losing weight. Like, I don't need to follow what I'm saying. And I'm like, Jen, what are you doing?
Ah,
It's like,
yeah.
what are you
Co-
doing?
Cognitive dissonance. You're totally,
Exactly.
you're just like, here, okay, I'm doing this
Yeah.
and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And so you do the 75 hard.
Yeah.
You're asking yourself
So,
these questions.
yeah. So I started the 75 hard um in August of 2021. And on September 7th, I woke up and I'm like, I think I'm pregnant. Like just something in my brain just said, Jen, you're pregnant. It was also the first day of school for my son. He was going into pre-K. He was going into his first day of preschool, everything. And I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And I had an old pregnancy test laying in the and I was like, I think this is expired. I don't even know if it's gonna work, whatever. And I took it and I was pregnant. And I showed it to my husband and he was like, no. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not guess I'm really not drinking now. And things really got tough in September. And I don't know if this was like God's way of just challenging me or just like life was challenging me. I was getting thrown at things like friends were saying comments that they really shouldn't have said, that were really getting underneath my skin. And just people started to nitpick. And it was really starting to bother me for some reason. And yes, me being a health and fitness coach, especially on social media, you're going to get the negative Nancy's, you're
Mhm.
going to get all that stuff. But like for some reason, it just, and probably it was the hormones and just everything affecting me. But I'll never forget October. And it was around this time, October, like first week of October, I saw a post that someone had made. And even though it wasn't directly towards me, it was about me. And it was reflecting about my character. It reflected about who I was as a person. It was just very, very all negative things about me. And it was blasted on social media. People were then texting me being like, what is this about? Like, why is this person doing this to you? Like, I thought you were friends, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. So I called them. I called them and we had a really hard conversation. It broke my heart because this was just, it was such a difficult conversation to have with this person because they were judging my character, they were judging my family, they were just judging everything. And I got off the phone, bawling my eyes out. And I was just in a sense of like, oh my God, like, what do I do? I almost reached for a bottle. And I was 2 months pregnant at this point.
Mhm.
I almost reached for the bottle. And I turned to my husband and I said, I got to go for a walk. I got to go for a walk. And he's like, why? And I said, I got to go. I have to go. He's like, okay. He's like, okay. So I walked around I walked around the neighborhood, and something said, go to AA, go to Alcoholics Anonymous,
Mhm.
go get help. And I was like, no, like, you're kind of fighting with the good angel, bad angel. Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't need it. I don't need it, but you do. And I literally looked at my husband and I said, I think I need to go to AA because I almost reached for the bottle. And he said, I think that'd be a smart idea. And so that night I went into my first meeting, and I haven't missed a meeting since. So that's kind of like when I first said, and I openly admitted at that meeting, I was pregnant, which nobody else knew. Like, none of my family knew. My husband knew, obviously, but nobody else knew. And I told them, and I said, I think I have a problem with alcohol. And that was the first time that I actually said it out loud, that I had a problem. And the feeling that I got, because the meeting was at a church, because that's where a lot of the meetings are held. They're held at churches. The feeling that I got was like, I just broke down, but it was a breaking down of actually the letting go part, the letting go of like holding that thing that I've been holding on to since I was 19, of me drinking, that thing of just saying, you know what? You do have a problem and it's okay. You're going to get help. It's okay to get help. Because I was always like, the way that I lived my life was that I've got this, like, I've got control. I'm in control of my life. I can do, I'm a strong woman. That's, my mom lived with cancer. She got through cancer. She did it, and I can get through life. Like, at
And
that
look what I've
moment,
done.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So,
and the community
yes.
that you got into, I would
Yeah.
say for you, is that what was one of the keys to be able to have that connection with others?
Yeah. So, the community that I belong to outside of AA is a health and wellness.
Sure.
And they are so instrumental. They have been so impactful for me. They were the ones that said, like, Jenn, if you need help, just go get help. There's no shame. There's no shame in getting help. And, they were also the people that have kind of been on my journey with me through, through it all, like me going through, being really, really heavy to a person that's like really fit. And they were encouraging me to get help. And then when I went into the community of AA, it was like, they didn't judge. They didn't judge. And I felt like every other piece of my life at that moment I was getting judged for, this is the safe place that I wasn't getting judged.
Wow.
And they just opened the doors and they were like, do you need anything? Do you have everything? And I was like, I don't know what even to start. They gave me a book. Like, they just like, and
Yeah.
the community is amazing. And I don't go to the meeting that I originally started to go to. I have then found an all women's meeting so the first meeting that I went to was at night, and it was too much for me and my family to kind of do night meetings and stuff. So now I found a meeting that's in the morning, and these women are so amazing that it's just, no words could describe on how, like, you walk into these meetings or you walk into a safe place. Like, no one judged me when my belly was like out to here and I was like, hi, I'm an alcoholic. Like, no one judged me. And for the first time in my life, I felt okay. But there was still a piece of me when I kept walking in being like, you're going to get judged. You're going to get judged because your belly. So I would wear shirts that were a little flowier, and nobody really knew that I was pregnant until I said it. Just because that's the old mentality. That was the old me of like, cover everything up so people don't like touch you.
Did you find, and I'm going to assume yes, but
Yeah.
Going to an AA meeting, and I think anybody who says they have a problem with alcohol, right? People are like, well, were you sleep under a bridge? Were you homeless and all this, And, I think a lot of people who have and who probably should quit drinking, right, fall somewhere between here and here, right? Did you find that to be, and, there's a lot of stereotypes. Well, you went to AA, so you must have been like blackout, DUIs and under the bridge. Did you find that the community of AA across the different meetings you attended, did that have that same spectrum of people who just like, I don't drink a ton, but I need to stop because I do this. And then, the other, did you find that same thing in that environment too?
Absolutely. So prior to AA, I did think about that. I was like, I always thought AA was like for people that had DUIs, that people had like drug addictions. I never did drugs. I maybe smoked marijuana in college because it was like the thing to do, but I usually got sick off of that. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I had this perception of AA just being like you said, the homeless, like just people that are like shaking and all that stuff. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. I walked into these meetings and these women's had like, especially the group that I go to, they're wearing Louis Vuittons. They're wearing their Coach. They're wearing like they're everyday women that just said, I've had enough. I literally have had enough. And at first, when I went in, I'm like, you start hearing stories and, you hear about the people that are DUIs and like gotten into accidents and they've gone to the rehabs and they have to do this. They're doing the 90 and 90, which is 90 days of 90 meetings. And I didn't do that. I was just the type of person that just stopped at a randomness, who's tried to stop in the randomness like years prior, but just never did it. Like I would go a couple weeks and then I would binge again on the alcohol. Like that was just me. I just never had a consistent stopping point of drinking. And I also realized that like my perception of this, probably the reason why I never got sober was because of my perception of that. Was because like I was so afraid to actually go get help for it and be in that category of like, you're in AA. Like I'll never forget when I told my dad that I stopped drinking, he knew I was kind of going through some stuff because at Christmas parties, we'd all get together. I have a huge family of like, there's 50 of us on my dad's side. And there's lots of cousins, lots of just lots of family. And we're drinkers. We are heavy, heavy drinkers. But I would always get to the point where every single time I drank, I would cry. I would just be that person that bawled their eyes out. And for me, looking back at it now, it was my scream for help. It was like because I had so much sadness in my heart because I was dealing with the grief of my mom because I never did. And I was dealing with the grief of like just everything in life over my whole lifespan. And that was my way of getting over it, was by drinking. And I would cry at my family events and they're like, Jenn, what's wrong? And I'm like, my mom would always come up and I'm like, this is why. But no one said, Jenn, I think you should actually really go get help. Maybe go see a therapist, maybe go do this and maybe stop drinking. No one said that. Yeah. And when I told my dad that I was sober, he was like, great, I'm so excited. And I said, but Dad, I also have to tell you I'm in AA. And he goes, well, don't tell anybody. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
He's like, don't tell people that you're in AA. I said, but why, Dad? He's like, well, you know how those people are. I was like, actually, you don't.
Yeah.
It's
You
like,
don't, you do. Yeah. You Jen know,
I
but
was
yeah.
like, I know
See?
who they are, but you don't.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to have you say that, because for like me and my drinking, like I was just like, I can't go to AA just for exactly what you said. Like exactly all those things, like
All those stereotypes, right?
all those stereotypes. And I'm like, I can't do that. And so, and going into the pandemic, I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do? Because if I don't quit drinking, I'm going to die. I mean, that's really where my thoughts were. And that's what, and then I started looking and I found like a couple of online things and got in there. But it's just really interesting though. It's like, why can't we have these conversations? Because your experience is your experience, and that it's a very positive experience. Now I've heard opposite experiences too, but that is that person's experience. And so they got into a different program and it worked great for them. So I think we have to really start to go in and look at things at the bigger, broader picture of,
Yeah.
if you walk in one place and it doesn't work for you there, go somewhere else.
Right. Yep.
You know, go somewhere else. I mean, because I, do alcohol coaching, and when you're with somebody, I mean, I've even said, you know what, I don't think we're a good fit.
Yeah.
Because here's my background, I'm a Christian coach. This is what I do. But, she's like, oh, I'm not, particular person. I said, you know what? I have a friend who I think you would be perfect. You would work perfect. She's like, really? And I go, yeah, because the goal is I want you to get help if you need help. And I think that's where I think we all need to share our stories. And that's why I'm so glad that you came on, because your story is different. And it's telling a story of such positivity that I'm getting help.
Yeah.
I got help and I needed it. And I'm with these women who are not judging me. And I think there's so many people who feel judged. I mean, I work with women right now who are just, there's, we all struggle like with the shame and not wanting, like the shame of, okay, well, if I admit, like you said, your dad said, don't tell anybody you're in AA. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and that
it
extends
was,
even to quitting drinking, period, right? Like, as soon as you say, well, I had to quit drinking, well, then the default is you had a problem. Well, I mean, define problem, right? Like, I needed to stop for my health or for other, but as soon as you say you had a problem, like, it's black and white. And some of that is mirror people are holding up themselves, right? Like, well, it's black and white. You either have a problem or you can just drink like me. Like me. Well, that's gray area too.
And and really, you're getting better, and it's your mental health.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so also the same time that I quit drinking, I did actually find a therapist. And when I went to her, she also said, like, maybe you should go to AA. And I was like, no, I don't need it. And when I had that wake up call, she was like, so how did it go? She
You may
knew,
have been
but
right.
you can't force people to do things. Same thing like with health. Like you can't force people to make a lifestyle change that's internally and also externally. Like I know for me, if I didn't start to work out when I did, and if I didn't start to eat healthy, I was going to I was probably on my way to having a heart attack because of the fact that my blood pressure was so bad. Like I was on the highest of high meds for blood pressure being pregnant. And they're like, Jen, we can't, like, and there's nothing else that we can give you at this point for your high blood pressure because you're pregnant. And afterwards, they probably would have kept me. I will say, since having that life-changing event, really life-changing event, and losing 135 pounds, I'm no longer on high blood pressure medicine. I'm off of that. So I've completely changed that. I am like probably I take more vitamins than I've ever taken in my life. just, to keep me going and to keep me sane, and also having a healthy regimen of, working out every day, doing meditation, which is something that I never ever done in my life. I now do meditation. I do gratitudes every day. Like
Yeah.
these are things that you need. And in that pivotal point when I was drinking the most, I would write down, I need to stop. I need to be healthy. I need to be healthier. And I didn't know what that meant, but that's what I would write, because our minds like go through a lot. And sometimes you just need a brain dump. And that's one of the things that would always come out. I want to be healthier. I want to be healthier. Even though I was healthy, I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so now I do those. And since getting sober, I was also realizing, oh my goodness, I have anxiety. I'm having panic attacks because I didn't know, like your mind is so clear from not drinking anymore. But I started to actually have really bad anxiety attacks to the point of when I had my daughter. Now, mind you, my daughter is nice and healthy. She would have stayed in my stomach probably forever because she was so comfortable. Like I did opt for a C-section for her just because of the time, like trying to get everything with my son. And I realized after having her, I had really bad postpartum depression. And with Christian, I had it, but I was masking it with alcohol. So I would drink. I probably started drinking with Christian after I had Christian, maybe about six months. I was breastfeeding with him, pumping and all that stuff. And I mastered, okay, if I pump and then I could drink right after, and then I would have to stop, and then I could pump again, and then I could drink right after. Like I was doing all this stuff. And then the minute that I stopped pumping, I was like, woohoo, binge, yay, awesome. With my daughter, it was so different because I wasn't doing that, but I was feeling everything because I wasn't masking anything. So I was feeling the depression. I was feeling the not happiness. Like I don't even know if I was truly happy with Christian because alcohol would make you happy. I was a happy drunk. I would always be like, woohoo, like, yeah, let's go crazy. And when I had Avery, I realized like something's off. I just felt off about myself. I just felt off about my life. I would look happy, like here.
Yeah.
On the inside, it was like screaming, clawing, like dying, all that stuff. In January, I ended up getting help for anxiety and depression. And I ended up going on medicine for that. And again, it took me a long time to say, I'm ready to do this because I didn't want the help. I didn't want to go get help. But I had a really bad incident with my husband. Him and I went out to dinner. He had his glass, he had a glass of wine, and I was fine with him drinking with me. He drinks all the time, but we went out to dinner and I looked around the room and it was probably just the way that my brain looked. And I was like, everyone has a drink but me. Everyone has a drink and they're all happy and they're all smiling and I'm not, and I'm sober and I got to sit here and I got to like, you're drinking in front of me and I got to do this and I got to do this. And I just lost it, completely lost it in the car with my husband. We had a huge fight. We actually almost like the D word came out. I don't like to say that word, but that actually came out. And through going through and talking with my therapist and talking, it was because I was just in a sense of I was going backwards to what I used to do. And I used to just use alcohol instead of talking about things and masking it all. So I ended up talking to my doctor, talking to my therapist, and I got help. And I didn't pick up a drink at that point. So I will take that as a win, but I'll also take the other win of that I saved my marriage because of the fact that I didn't pick up that drink and I actually got help because I know that I needed it. And that's the biggest thing. That was that's why this year alone has been so impactful because I not only have sobriety, 2 year sobriety, I not only now have clarity of my mind, and now I truly understand what happiness is. And I don't care what people say. I don't care about being judged. And it's okay to actually announce that you're sober. It's okay to say that you can,
Amen.
like, like you're like, it's okay. Like, and I think I've had a lot of moms recently be like, "Oh, I'm super curious." And I'm like, "Are you? Are
Well,
you?"
Can
and
I quit and not quit?
there's so many of these terms that come out. And I want to just say, like, what I want to just say, I have noticed in this last year. So I think this is very interesting. Like, I've noticed this light come on in your eyes. The pictures, there's like this twinkle that's come in. Not that there probably wasn't, but there's just a brightness to you. And I think it's also, for me, like, this has been a health journey for the two of us as well. And it's like, you know what? I look at it, it's a carcinogen. It is truly a carcinogen. It causes 7 types of cancer. It is linked to breast cancer. It is, and we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And here we are, everything is going to be pink washed. Is that like pink washing, what they call it? And it's like, but it is, it's like, oh, it's okay. Here, we'll put this little pink ribbon on this bottle of wine. Here you go. Here's your mommy juice. Enjoy. Meanwhile, a bottle of wine for a woman equals 10 cigarettes. 10 cigarettes. And people just give it a pass. And I think the problem is our society is so drenched in alcohol. And then it comes down to the term that was coined by the alcohol industry: drink responsibly.
Or moderation.
Moderation.
Yes. And those were both created by the alcohol industry. And so you come to this point, you're like, moderation is a mind blank. I mean,
it's a mess.
It is just an insane thing. I tried to do it for a decade. And you're describing, okay, well, I can go 2 weeks without, and then it would be a binge, or it would be, I'm going to drink 1 or 2. And then all of a sudden it was Russian roulette. Boom. Yep. I was just, and it just keeps cycling. I mean, you're on a train and the tracks are out. So when are you going to jump off the train? Yeah. And I think, for someone like you, and now you're talking, you have this influence too, to be able to talk to young moms. I mean, about the postpartum, you have really such a wonderful platform.
And Jenn, I love that. I appreciate you sharing your story with us, because a lot of people see kind of your hero's journey of, like, from overweight and drinking and all this to look at me now and like, how could I ever get there? Well, sharing your story highlights you didn't just wake up one day and look at me, like the challenges and the fact that, and I've kind of similar, like, I quit smoking years ago, then I quit drinking. Now I actually exercise, right? Like, it's not something that happened in weeks or months. You're talking years and time. And to your point, great points of, like, I didn't really want to quit drinking. I didn't need to go to I needed help, but I didn't feel like I could get the help or should get the help. And I think those are great things that you've highlighted that we really appreciate you sharing.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I appreciate you guys, letting me share this story, because of the fact that there are so many women and men, not just women, but like, there are so many of us that are going through the same thing. Every story is different, but our message is still the same. And is that we all need help sometimes. And sometimes we can't do it by ourselves.
No.
It does take willpower. It does take the consistency. That's the big one. And like, I'm on this like consistency because it, like, I'll hear from different women, oh, I can't lose this much weight. And like, I only gave it 2 weeks. Girlfriend, you can't, you have to keep going after that 2 weeks. Like you have to keep going after that month. Like you have to keep going. And the same thing with being sober. You can't just, yes, you're going to have that point where the boulder comes in and is going to like throw you for a loop, but it's how you handle that boulder coming through that makes you stronger. And I know that 100% because like me doing, like, I could have picked up a drink. I could have in January. I was just in San Antonio and all my girls that I was with drank. Did I? No. And my best friend, when I go up to Rhode Island, we'll go out, and I've gotten really comfortable with me going out to bars and being like, yeah, I'm going to have a water. Woohoo. Like, and I don't care because I'm there for the experience. I'm not there to wake up with a hangover.
Yeah.
I would much rather like be there, have fun, remember the night, and then not have to get up and like be like, oh, my head, like, because as you get older, that stuff is really hard to do.
And I'm going to just tell you that I think it's amazing that you stopped when you did, because for me, mine geared up in my 40s and it was like, oh, this just sucks. This is what it feels like getting old.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't sleep anymore. Well, you can't sleep anymore. I mean, yeah, the hormones are affecting it, but that glass of wine
didn't help.
That made it, I don't know, so much worse. Because when I let go of that, it was like, oh, well, I'm still not sleeping a ton, but the sleep I was getting was so good. And for me, just like you said, this is a process. I hate to tell people, for me, because I struggled with sleep forever, took almost 18 months to finally get to a point where I was really, really sleeping well. And I still have times you're like, oh, okay, she didn't sleep well again. All right, here we go.
That is really just having an old lady.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, I get the last question.
Okay,
All right. So, and I'll be interested in your answer because from the AA background. So obviously we don't drink. When you do go to the bar with your girlfriends or whatever, or out with your husband or whatever, what's your favorite like afternoon, evening go-to beverage?
My mocktail, as I say. So I actually had this over the summer. So I was doing mojitos. I was doing the virgin mojitos. But I found that having just seltzer with a little bit of pineapple juice and a cherry I had it it was like, I was on the water and I was on the beach, and we went to go see a band, me and my best friend, and she had the same thing, but she had hers with vodka, but I had mine with just seltzer, and it was so good. It was like almost drinking like, I don't know what it was, but it was just something about it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so delicious. Like, and I couldn't have too many of them just because of the sugar.
Oh yeah.
But that's like my go-to. It's very delicious. So very delicious.
Yeah, we might have to get that.
I love a new recipe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on our show with us. And
thank you.
Hope that we can just send people over to you. You inspire me. So I just want to say thank you and
thank you. And you guys are like, this is awesome. And I love to be on this with you and just spreading the message that it's okay to be sober. It's really okay. Like we're still normal. We're still humans. Like,
And tell us again, when are you going to be, you have something coming up, right?
Yes. So I don't know. I have an audition with America's Got Talent in November. But anyways, you guys can follow me on Instagram at mama_ J_fitness, or if you're on Facebook, you can find me at Jenn Marsan. So that's how you guys can find me.
All right.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jenn, for being on the Alcohol Free Marriage More podcast. What an amazing story.
Yeah.
I love like I said, the hero's journey, and highlighting the challenges she had along the way. And we learned a little bit about AA because we never really talked about AA.
And it's not overnight. I mean, I think that's the big thing.
100%.
This has been, like she even said, 5 years. Her little one is 5 years, and this has been a journey.
And you learn as you take the next step.
Yep.
It's like, oh, well, maybe I should try this.
And just keep walking in. So I want to just say what I just think it was a great interview. I can't wait to see. I hope she goes far.
Yes.
America's Got Talent.
That'd be awesome.
That'll be cool. Maybe we'll just have to just ask her on how was that?
Yeah. We have the inside track now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, kids. Well, hope you enjoyed the interview with Jenn. Check us out next week. Till then, I am Matt, along with Coach Amy. Wish you peace and love from the cornfields. We are out.